So, welcome back, folks, to another edition of Rich Conversations, a series of really short but insightful conversations between myself, Rich, and somebody from within my network who I see as being an absolute expert in their field. And as always, I've pulled off another top guest for us today, and we've got Neil Schneider with us. Neil is a former experienced local government chief executive and now, amongst many other things, a commissioner at the Association of Public Service Excellence. So, Neil, a very warm welcome to you.
Hello, Rich. Nice to see you.
Absolutely, Neil. Yeah. So, listen, we could talk about 1,000,001 things today. LinkedIn kind of gives us about 6 to 9 minutes to do it in. So we are well and truly under pressure. I want to talk to you about building world-class teams and building world-class teams around you and the importance of it. As someone who was a chief executive in the sector, how important was that to you? And I guess, how did you do it is the question for about 3 or 4 minutes to answer it in.
Okay, fine. Well, you're right. Of course, the days of heroic leaders in that context, I think, have gone. I was always certain that I required a world-class team around me. People who probably knew more than me, were cleverer than me, brought all that to the table. But more importantly, people who got on as a team, those factors of relishing challenge from one another in a constructive way, being able to form relationships, a sense of togetherness, and by that I mean a sense of purpose and a sense of like being in it together, being able to overcome difficulties together, celebrate success together. All of that you see in any successful team in any sector is how I would probably describe it. Local government presents its whole host of other challenges in developing a successful team, because that team didn't just consist of officers, it consisted of members as well. So that two-dimensional aspect to developing a successful team was huge. And I wish that I could share a golden nugget of a quick route to success, but I haven't. Because it's hard work. It's about developing, nurturing relationships, overcoming difficulties, finding the right skills and techniques to develop them relationships, and growing together as a team, and being clear what we're there to achieve.
But I suppose that in itself is a golden nugget of information, isn't it? That this stuff isn't going to happen overnight. You have to persevere. You have to work really hard at this sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And, if there's something else I can say in that is sometimes it's true that the successful team's going to need refreshing, new players in, new players out. How you do that's critical. It always was to me. I didn't want anyone ever to leave that team without support, and it was important that people who were either moving on for good reasons of promotion or moving on not being part of that team, I wanted to do that well, with dignity and grace, if you say that, but also in a positive way. I think that sends an important message about the further refreshing of the team and the people that you bring in. And sometimes that's going to happen naturally. Sometimes as a leader, you have to make those, and at times, tough calls to make sure you've got the right team, the right experience, the right skills to adapt and reflect the challenges ahead. So, those are perhaps some of the other things I reflect back on that were important techniques and tips.
Yeah. And I was intrigued at the start of the first answer there, Neil, about when you said, world-class team, it's this kind of misconception that we're all high-fiving each other and we're great friends all the time. I guess the best teams have to deal with conflict and manage the way through that from time.
Absolutely. It ain't easy. It's never going to be, perfect all days, every day, but knowing that that's okay, actually, and knowing how you're going to resolve those issues in a supportive environment rather than a toxic, difficult one is crucial. Leadership, sets, and how we behave, all of us, that's the culture of the organisation, how we behave. And I think that's one other maybe tip I would give is being very clear about how we behave together as a team, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and actually what won't be tolerated at times. Now, I was very lucky that was something we very rarely would need to touch upon. But I think it was an important foundation on which to set what was a successful team that went on to have great success actually in that local government sector.
Yeah. One of the questions I've been asking as part of this series is to try and get new managers maybe coming into the sector for the first time, or those who have been in the sector, but it's their first management gig, to try and get something from this. We said earlier that it's really tough to come and find one nugget, but maybe is there a quick win? If I was a brand new manager into the sector and I had a team around me and I'm thinking to myself, what can I do to turn this into a world-class team? Are there any quick wins, do you think? Or is there something people should be thinking on to do that?
I wouldn't describe it as a quick win. I think there's something that I look back on and think was the most important things I learned that I could then utilise. The first is be very clear about your own self-awareness, who you are. You know, I always encourage people to tell you who am I story. It's the most important story you'll ever tell, just about what made you the person you are, and share that amongst your team. Be clear you understand one another. And if that grips you, then to me, it was always that importance of, whether you call it emotional intelligence, but that's it. You know, working in a people organisation, in a service-focused local government, public sector body, that was the defining point in my career, was when I took some time, because I was afforded some opportunity for personal development, that I focused on, I need to understand myself better, what makes me who I am, how I behave, what my values have been. And then I started to try and encourage others to do likewise. And that helped us in building that successful team of people who understood each other at a level that we previously hadn't, that formed a sense of togetherness in a way that we probably hadn't. That, my goodness, helped us, you know, move mountains in difficult times. So that would be my one thing I'd say, is spend time on, and don't dive into it with others. Make sure you know who you are first, and be prepared to share that with people.
I absolutely love that. It resonates so much. It's made me remember a former chief executive of mine who once said to me, people buy you as a person before they buy the vision you're trying to sell them. Yeah. I think that it just resonates so much with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Neil, thank you so much. Believe it or not, our time has come to an end. That's been really valuable. Thank you so much.
No trouble. Nice to see you again, Rich. Hope goes well.
Cheers. And folks, that's it for another edition. I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon.